I think honestly, I'm just tired of hearing people tell me about people who killed themselves. So, hmm, it's quite exhausting, really. Especially when there is a solution. Like in AA, they say there is a solution. There is a solution. And it's not like a temporary solution. It's like a long-lasting, ever-present solution. And I think that's what makes things so frustrating, is you know there's a solution, and yet I still hear about all these people who end up killing themselves, whether through drinking or some other path. Yeah. And I see there's so much stuff out there about improving the head, or improving ourselves, or improving this. But the thing is, when it comes to the logic of not to, you're not doing the mental process in the first place. Even the Buddha, whenever thousands of years ago he was saying, there is no doer thereof. Events happen, deeds are done, consequences happen, but there is no doer thereof. So every time we make a move to try to improve ourselves, it's like the famous quote from Ramana, the one you're trying to improve doesn't exist, yeah? Because there is no doer. So when we're trying to improve ourselves, let's say the mental, however that's going to happen, what we're actually doing is reinforcing our identification or attachment with that mental process. Now, because there is no doer of that mental process, there's just doing, it's running based on conditioning. It's like the Course in Miracles says, you only see the past. So as we try to improve the head, that conditioned head, we're really just getting tied more to the conditioning. Now the mental movements can change, I believe, but the basis of our attachment to it will not change. And in my experience, the core ideas or the core beliefs which move through that mental process are not going to shift. And I can't manage it because I'm not doing it, because it's conditioned. It's like a program that's running, yeah? That program keeps running. The more I try to change that program, one, the more I'm identifying with when the head talks, as if it's my head, as if there's a doer called me doing that head and is going to change it or undo it or this or this or this. So I'm tying myself to that. But even maybe more painful is that it keeps failing. So when I try to change the head, and this is what I was trying to do for years, even in recovery, trying to change the mental system to become this pristine mental system, and then that failed. And then there was a big gloom and doom and dark clouds of, oh, I failed again. But this is the mistaken identification. What's failing is not me, and what's failing is not you. That is self that's failing. And you are bonded to self through the identification. The identification is the glue that sticks us to self. And when we're identified as it, there's a sense of doership. Meaning when the head thinks, I feel like I'm the doer. When the eyes see, I feel like I'm the seer. When the ears hear, I feel like I'm the hearer. But that I is not you, essentially. That is the presupposing of a non-existent thing. The head is presenting I, the thought I, as this body. Yeah? And there's an identification with that. That identification is a misidentification. So all the thoughts that come after that sense of I are based on the identification as a self, as a person. Now there is no self, as they say in Buddhism. It's a movement, it's a thought, or an I, let's say. There's nothing inside of this body, which is a little j, and that little j is right there. It's a movement that constantly gets presented and switches. But all of the other thoughts are based on that I. The more I try to change those thoughts, the more I'm establishing the identification as the thinker of those thoughts. The more I'm tied to the identification as the thinker, the more I'm bound to the thoughts. No matter how insane the thoughts are, the more I'm bound to those thoughts. So those thoughts could say crazy shit, like you're a piece of shit and you should kill yourself. You're worse than everybody. This is all your fault. Everything's always been your fault, because the head can only see the past. And if I am bound to the sense of being the thinker, I am bound to those thoughts, and I am essentially under their command. It's like the person in AA once who said, alcoholism, he essentially said, alcoholism is talking to me and I obeyed. Exactly. The head is talking to you, and if you're identified as the sense of individuality or I, then all of those thoughts you're bound to the outcome of those thoughts, or bound to the information, let's say, those thoughts are presenting. Doesn't matter how crazy they are. I don't have to talk to any more people who know that they're doing the wrong thing, and as soon as their head says do it, they're gone. Now, if those thoughts were not their thoughts, which they aren't their thoughts, they're conditioned thoughts happening inside the body, which they're identified as. If those were not their thoughts, they would not be listening to them. They would see the insanity of those thoughts, and they would stop walking with them. They would not touch them. They wouldn't even have to let them go, because they wouldn't touch them in the first place. But if you're identified as the thinker or the I of those before those thoughts, you're bound to those thoughts. Those thoughts make you very uncomfortable. And then the outcome or the answer to that discomfort is sometimes drinking, sometimes sex, sometimes gambling, sometimes drugs, and sometimes ending the body. But there is a solution. And it's seeing that the misidentification with the body is the root of the suffering. Something is defeating us. In AA, that's called self. Self. Self-centeredness, self-seeking, self-pity. What do they say? 100 forms of self. What could that be but 100 forms of the head, essentially, presenting all these different ways? God, release me from the bondage of self. That bondage is identification. So as we try to improve the head, it's actually reifying our identification with it. And then when certain things don't improve, like the baseline things of I feel like I'm less than, we feel like we failed yet again, but we did not. The failure is proving something. It's proving the conditioning of the head. Yeah? That can change only a certain amount, but the baseline is going to stay the same. I think there's even schools in psychology which say the core beliefs are not going to change. You are not the one failing. You are being failed, essentially, by listening to a failed system. So most people stop when they say, oh, I see the thoughts. I see the thoughts. Yeah, that's where they stop. But if you see the thoughts and you feel like you're the one seeing thoughts, you are the one, me, I am seeing thoughts, you're bound to those thoughts. You're bound to it. And if when people say they're not bound to it from that point, to be honest, I feel like they're lying. Oh my God. If you feel you're the seer or the thinker of those thoughts, the one who is seeing those thoughts, you are bound to them. And if you're like me, that's not a good position to sit in. And then if you try to change those thoughts, you're being more bound to them. Yeah? By trying to get out of them, or let's say by trying to change them, you're reifying your identification with those thoughts. When you see you're not the thinker, the thoughts go away pretty quick. If you try to change the thoughts from being this in the seat of the thinker, those thoughts are going to explode, essentially, because we're giving it power through the identification as the thinker. So if you're identified as the body, and the head is going off seemingly inside of that body, and that's making you very uncomfortable, I actually understand the reasoning behind I'm going to end the body. But you are not the body, nor are you the thoughts which are happening seemingly inside of this body. There is a solution. That is all self, and it's an action. There's no thing in here, yeah? The clouds move through the sky, while essentially you and me are a cloud. The sense of you, the sense of me is a cloud. You can't kill the sky. You can blow away clouds, but you can't move the space of the sky. You are the space, essentially. Your true nature, let's say, is the space. What you are is the space. But the idea of you as a body, as an individual, is a cloud. And being a cloud can get very uncomfortable. And then the main movement people try to do is they try to change or become a not cloud as a cloud. And that can't happen. The one you're trying to improve doesn't exist, as Ramana says. So the more we try to change something that's not there, I don't even have to finish that sentence. So there is no doer thereof, there's just doing. This is why it's just a negation. There's no movement, there's no positive movement. It's just a negation, not that, not that. Whatever is doing is not you. Whatever is claiming to be doing is not you. Thinking is not you. And the sense of being the seer of those thoughts is not you. Thoughts are not you, thinker not you. The eyes are not you, the sense of being the seer is not you. Huh? And then you land somewhere, or land, let's say, everywhere, and essentially it nullifies the thinking. The next move the head makes, it goes this way or this way. You see it right away. You see it move. You know you're not that. And then it hits you back again. Pooh, it moves again. No, no, no. Wow. There is a solution, yeah? There is a solution.